Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to our community call, Thriving Through the Holidays, for your Journey to Optimal Health support page. We're so excited to bring you some helpful tips for the holidays. We know that this can be a challenging time for people if they really don't have a plan. So in creating this call tonight, I have some wonderful clients and coaches that are going to share their story. We're going to give you some great tips. And we're going to hope that you guys can walk away with some helpful tools that you can use, not only for this week and Thanksgiving, but through the rest of the holidays to the beginning of the year. So I am going to, I'm sharing my screen here. So here we go. So the biggest thing that you need to do is really decide what's on your holiday wish list. The most important thing you can do is decide where you want to be come January 1st. Do you want to have lost 5, 10, 15 pounds by then? Do you hope to just maintain your weight through that holiday season? Or hopefully we don't hope to gain weight, but if we don't come up with a plan, we might end up with option C, and that would be gaining 8 to 10 pounds, which is about the average that the person can gain in the holiday season. And usually that comes because somebody starts at Halloween, and Halloween turns into November 1st and all the way through the next 2 months, and it just is kind of one rolling train of parties, and you kind of throw out any ideas of trying to stay healthy over the time. So we hope that you walk away with some great tools tonight that can help you come up with a great plan. So I'm going to introduce one of my co-hosts tonight, Karen Mays. Let's unmute you. There we go. Karen Mays is a fabulous friend, client, and coach, and she's had an amazing journey and started in November. So she's an excellent example of how you can start being healthy in November and take it through. So I'm going to let Karen share her story. I don't want to steal her thunder. Go ahead, Karen, take it away.
Hi, everyone. So as Nora said, I am Karen Mays. I started my journey November 9th, 2015. And that was definitely part of my decision-making process was I going to start going into the holidays, which had traditionally been, like Nora was talking about, one long season of indulgence in the past. And I decided I didn't want to wait. I thought the choice is to keep feeling like I was feeling, which was pretty terrible, until January, or see what I could do. And so I decided to go in 100% and stay on program 100% with Nora's support. I found it, once I made that decision, it really wasn't that hard. The hardest part was making the decision to go for it 100%. And what I found was that having made that, then, it was just a question of strategizing. And so, like Nora talked about, the biggest thing I could do was to have a plan. So I knew exactly we were hosting that year. I knew that, so I was able to prepare things, lean protein and vegetables, that's pretty compatible with a lot of Thanksgiving dinner. So I stayed away from the stuffing. I stayed away from the potatoes, and enjoyed my meal. So I think I was literally 2 weeks in on Thanksgiving that year. And I was already, just really enjoying being in fat burn and feeling really good, feeling like I was headed in the right direction. And so I just was really, really motivated to stay the course. And it wasn't obstacle free though. You never know. And so I had a friend come. I invited a friend of mine and her family to come over for dinner, and she arrived at the door with this very special Ukrainian dish that she prepared for us, and she was going to be really offended if I didn't eat some. It was so I had, because I had talked to Nora, I had my 3-bite rule. And so that's where I used my 3 bites. And, I could have been like, wow, this is something I don't even really want to eat. But I knew that 3 bites weren't going to take me, too far, of course. And so it was really good to have made that plan. And I did, I think to make it feel a little special, I had some diet tonic water in a sort of a highball glass to make me feel like I was make it feel festive. So all of that kind of added up to really make it easy, and it made me able to enjoy the time. I wasn't worried about having one more piece of pie or another scoop of stuffing or what have you. Because I already made that decision, so it really freed me up to enjoy the time with my family and engage more with everybody there. So that was, I think, I have now combined Thanksgiving and Christmas in my mind, but it was pretty much a very similar experience for both holidays. And certainly by Christmas time, I was down, 35 pounds. And so I was, really excited to be there and see where I could be by New Year's. And I've never regretted that decision. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Did I miss anything?
No. So I think the biggest thing, Karen, and if you want to go over this slide, is to create a plan, right?
Yeah. So, my plan and my goal was to stay 100% on the 5-in-1 and not come out of fat burn and stay on plan, basically. And so I worked that through with what that would look like with Nora. And the barriers for me were the sweet things that I had always, wanted. But I found that, like I said, I was feeling so great and in such a great place and feeling really good about where I was headed, that it was very easy for me to say, not this year, not this time. And, that was really a big change. And I think that's probably what my husband was like, this is different. But actually, and also having talked through, things like the 3-bite rule, having that as like a, if something comes up, someone arrives with something amazing, you have that, and really 3 bites is enough. It is enough. And I didn't enjoy the overindulging anymore. So that was my biggest thing, was making the decision. There's this great meme out there that 99% committed is hard and 100% committed is easy. And so that really was my experience. And it's been my experience many times. I've been 99% and I've been 100, and 100% is actually easier. I think knowing that you have, I think that, really one of the 3-bite rule, or you don't have to think of it as a rule, I guess, but that idea that a little bit is really enough, that you really do get the most enjoyment out of the first few bites of something. And I know personally, I would spend a lot of time stressing out about, was I going to have more or not? Like engaging in this inner debate, and to have that sort of be silent was a real gift. And like I said, it freed me up to really enjoy the time and the day a lot more, and what it's really about, and not about figuring out what to eat next or not to eat next. And, whether to keep leftovers or not, or send them home, it was really freeing.
Great. Thanks, Karen, for sharing. That's helpful.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So it's not that you can't eat certain things during the holiday season. I think it's really important to kind of take that into consideration. It's whether you're really making a healthy choice not to. In our Optavia community, we are really all about creating healthier habits for the lifelong transformation. So you're going to come up with things in life that might derail you or challenge you to make different choices. And that's up to you. And sometimes you might make a great choice, and sometimes it might be a choice that might delay your progress a little bit. but know that you have a wonderful plan that you can always get back to. So we have some great tips that I wanted to share with you to help you thrive through the holidays. And Karen Mays talked about several of them. So you want to talk to your health coach. You don't have to tackle any health challenge alone. Your coach and our wonderful Optavia community is here to support you and help you reach your goals. So your Journey to Optimal Health support page, your direct coach, and everything that comes along with that is really your guide. We're here to help you. The second tip is to use a buddy system. An extra layer of support and accountability can go a really long way. Ask a friend or a family member that will be at the event that has similar values to you that might help hold you accountable. They aren't there to be your police, and you might want to remind them of that, but they are there to help hold you accountable and just be that extra support. Maybe they're going to make those healthy choices with you. Tip number 3 is to fuel yourself every 2 to 3 hours leading up to the event. I think people, especially on Thanksgiving, that dinner is really the big event of the day. And so people hold off knowing that they're going to eat a ton of food later in the day. But that's going to set you up to be really hungry. So what you can do is wake up and have that first fueling within that 30 to 60 minutes of waking, and then eat every 2 to 3 hours after that. You don't want to go into any event hungry or on an empty stomach. It's just like you don't want to go into the grocery store hungry, right? All those extra things end up in your cart. Tip number 4 is to drink water. Keeping a glass of water in your hand can help you overcome cravings and temptations. It also is going to help you stay fuller by drinking water throughout the day. My really big tip for people is if you're holding a sparkling water in a fancy glass or a water, somebody may be less likely to come up and ask you, would you like something to drink, or to challenge you in that sense. So having something there in your hand kind of detours people from offering that. Our 5th tip, which is our huge philosophy in Optavia, is to stop, challenge, and choose. So when you're looking at the buffet table, and remember the plan that you have in place that you've made with your health coach, take a moment to stop, survey the table, survey the appetizer, survey the dessert, know where you want to go, challenge yourself, see what are your best options, and then you make a choice, right? So nothing is necessarily off limits, but you have the choice of whether you want to stay on target to help you reach your goals, or if you want to take a break and know that you have a wonderful plan to come back to. So those are all great things that you can talk to your health coach about to help you decide. Next up, I have the pleasure of introducing this fabulous lady, Karen Gibler. Again, a wonderful friend, client, and coach. I had so much fun pulling these pictures, going through Karen's, I stole them off her Facebook page, because Karen retired. And one of her goals in retirement was to live her best life and her healthiest life possible. And she has traveled so much since she has retired that it was really hard for me to choose pictures to pick. So here she has traveled throughout the world, and she has a 90-pound weight loss story to share with you. Go ahead, Karen, take it away.
Okay. Did I unmute myself?
Yep, you're good to go.
Good. Okay. So I've done, in the last 3 years, I've done both the holidays and traveling a variety of ways. Like my friend Karen May, sometimes I just completely stuck to lean and green, which I have felt good about. Other holidays, I've decided that I've wanted to indulge. So let me share how I've done that without going totally crazy. I think it's really important to remind yourself, when you talked about that slide, starting with October and going into December, that it's the day of Thanksgiving. It's not the weekend, the week, the month of Thanksgiving. My birthday is a day, a birthday. It's not a birthday, and my birthday happens to be a week before Christmas. So it's, you know, it's not the birthday week, which slides into the Christmas, into the New Year's. So what I've done when I've decided I'm going to not be on 5 and 1 is I picked a time limit and I've stuck to that. So it might be 1 or 2 days, but then after that, that's it. Because that's where I've gotten into trouble in the past, is where I've continued to eat those things. Another strategy I have is look at the Thanksgiving table. There are like dozens of dishes on that table. Do you really need to eat all of them? You know, even do you need to taste all of them? So I pick out what my favorites are. Like, do I need the mashed potatoes and gravy? Do I need roll and stuffing? No. Which of those do I like the best? I like stuffing. So I'm going to have my little portion of stuffing, and I can live without the mashed potatoes and the roll. So those may not be your choices, but I think it's a good strategy, in addition to the 3-bite rule, of picking what really, really you like the best, because you don't have to eat everything that's there. And I do drink lots of water. I eat my lean and green first. I don't know. Well, Karen wasn't talking about that because she was sticking to her lean and green, but I always have my protein and veggies first. And then I tend to eat a little bit less of that stuffing or whatever other dish that I have decided to add. I've done this traveling too. One suggestion I'd make to people, I always take bars with me when I travel. Not that I'm afraid that I'm going to starve, but if I have a bar sometimes in lieu of a meal, I don't need to eat 3 meals a day. I don't get terribly hungry and overindulge. And again, I think I originally started the plan in July 3 years ago, and I went to Italy for a month in October, and I was really, really nervous. But because my stomach had shrunk, I just ate less. And I will confess that I did have a scoop of gelato every day. I did have wine every day, but I also, walked my socks off. So when I got home, I did get right back on plan. The day I got off the plane, I went back on plan, but I was just terrified to get on the scale. I mean, I really was terrified. So I got on the scale and I couldn't believe it. I was even. I hadn't lost, I hadn't gained. And I felt like I had enjoyed the cultural experience of traveling without coming back, 5 or 10 pounds heavier. So I think this idea of making a plan, sticking to the plan, and if you decide that you do want to, it's okay to have stuffing on Thanksgiving if that's what you want to do, but just don't eat stuffing for 4 days after Thanksgiving. That would be my biggest piece of advice.
Great. Thanks, Karen, for sharing. That's great. Karen is a great example of how you can make the choice to go into the different environment and indulge a little bit. But the biggest thing, and Karen does this every single time she comes back from an event in her life or a travel experience, is that she decides the day she's coming back that she is jumping back into plan.
Do not wait even 1 day. You've got to jump right back on. Yeah,
absolutely. So thanks, Karen, for sharing. Great. Okay, so the continuing on with our tips, I think the biggest thing that you can do is focus on friends and family. This is a collage of my family enjoying a turkey trot that we do every single year together. The kids do it, my sisters do it, and it's a big family affair. It's early in the morning, and it gets us up and it gets us active, and we're done by like 9:30. So you want to focus, you're going to these events to focus around the people that are there and around you. You don't want to hang out near the food tables. That's really can be tempting. Tip number 7 is to be active. So exercise in the morning. Get it out of the way, or maybe take a walk after dinner. Maybe if you're not a big exerciser, gather the family. You know, everybody tends to sit back on the couch really stuffed and maybe watching football or whatever. But why don't you guys grab a football and go toss the ball outside or go for a walk? Tip number 8 is portion control. So use smaller plates. Don't go back for seconds. Really kind of decide what you want. If there's something extra out there, Karen Mays talked about the 3-bite rule. That's a big one that I suggest. You always get the most enjoyment out of your first 3 bites. Savor them, taste them, enjoy them, and walk away. And tip number 10 would be to avoid drinking lots of calories. So alcohol can cause us to lose our self-control a little bit, or may doubt our commitment to what we have decided. So it's okay if you want to enjoy a drink, but I would definitely follow it before and after with a lot of water. We know that when you decide to drink alcohol, or when you decide to eat things that might take you out of a fat burn, it's going to take you 3 to 5 days to get back into it. So if you can remember the first 3 to 5 days that you were on your Optavia plan and what that felt like. So sometimes hunger is there, cravings are there, you might get a slight headache. Some people go through those fat burn initial stages totally fine. Others have a little bit of a rough roller coaster. Sometimes it's harder the second time around. So I would encourage you to really decide if you want to go through that. It's something that you know, once you enter that fat burn, you're going to feel great and things are going to be fine. And your energy will go up and you'll sleep better. Another thing that I would suggest is to wear clothes that fit you. So don't wear really baggy clothes where you have lots of room. You know, wear clothes that if you overeat a little bit or overindulge, you're going to feel it and you're going to probably want to walk away. I want you to think about how many days you have left in the year, right? So we are coming to the end of November. There's probably 6 weeks left in the year. I should have counted that. But think about, what are those special days? What are those special activities that you have coming up? And choose which are the ones that you might want to splurge on. Talk to your coach for sure, like we said. The next couple of slides we're going into are some fun recipes. So if you want to take some screenshots, here are some fun ways to do appetizers. Lots of vegetable trays. You know, we have a wonderful online community. So our Journey to Optimal Health page, we have a lot of people that share recipes and things there. If you also looked on Pinterest under Optavia 30 and Lean and Green, you're going to come up with a lot of different ideas. So this would cover some Thanksgiving and winter holidays. Here are some other appetizers, a great taco dip and some baked zucchini chips. We will also have these posted in our Journey to Optimal Health page. And here are some wonderful Thanksgiving recipes that give you an option that follow our Lean and Green guidelines. So we have cauliflower rice stuffing, green bean casserole, creamed mashed cauliflower, and gravy. Goes to show you that you can make these healthy dishes. Another one is using the buttermilk cheddar herb biscuit in your stuffing with some cauliflower. If you are looking for some bread or some rolls, you can use cloud bread, or these rosemary cauliflower rolls look delicious. And then here are some fun drinks or desserts. So ways to kind of do some fueling hacks. Be cautious when you do fueling hacks because they do have extras in them, condiments and healthy fats in them that can be counted in other ways. But here's some fun things. If eggnog is your thing and you love eggnog every year, here's a healthy version of it. And here's the alcohol part. So going back to what I said earlier, where if you're holding a drink in your hand, you probably are going to get less pressure to actually have a real alcoholic drink. So they're not going to know what's actually in that cup, right? If you look at that skinny mojito, that looks like a legit mojito to me, which happens to be one of my favorite drinks. So here is a great way. Have a fancy glass and pour a sparkling water with lime in it. And here are some other recipes that you can have. I just think the really important thing is just make sure you're really well hydrated. Also remember that alcohol will dehydrate you. So you want to make sure you're drinking your water, and it doesn't matter if it's flat or sparkling. That leads us to the leftovers. So if you are hosting Thanksgiving, I would maybe come up with a fun way. Here are some stickers that you can make, or fun way to make sure that those leftovers get out of your house. You know, it's kind of like Halloween. The day after Halloween, I make my kids go through their candy and we donate the rest of it, because if it's lying around the house, the kids are not going to eat it. I'm going to eat it. So I need to make sure that it's gone. So same with leftovers. If you have a lot, you know, leftovers are only good for a certain amount of days. People would love to go home with leftovers and really enjoy the rest of the feast. You don't need to have all that extra food around if you don't want it. And then the other most important thing is to keep calm and to enjoy the holiday season. I think it's so important to remember that it's all about family. It's all about friends. We can often get caught up with everything around us and the stress of the holidays and feeling that we're always so busy. So take time out for yourself. Remember that if you don't help yourself first, it's really hard to help others and be there as a support to others. So our Optavia community is really about helping you be your best. So link arms with your coach, reach out to your coach, whether you're watching this live or you're watching it via recording. Know that we are here as your support and we want to hear from you. So you don't have to wait for your coach to call you. Feel free to pick up the phone or to text, and we are there as your support. So I hope you all have a blessed holiday season, a blessed Thanksgiving. I hope you walked away from this with a few tips, and thank you. I'm going to open it up for questions. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and raise your hand, and